All righty. Well, thanks for joining us. I'm Darren Crosby, and this is my friend Don Oler. Did I pronounce that right?
No, but nobody does. Don't worry about it.
Okay, I screw it up every single time. I'm just going to start calling you Dono. But we are here to tell you a little bit about what each of us does and how we help people, kind of in transition from corporate to whatever the next version of their professional life looks like. And Don, why don't
Yeah.
you
And
get
that's
us
who I
started?
am. So I'm at the right place.
You're at the
Perfect.
right place.
So, Don, why don't you get us started and tell us a little bit about what you're doing and how you're helping your clients?
Yeah, thanks, Darren. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the invitation to share your stage with you here. I've been in career coaching for about 23 years. Had to learn how to do it myself when I was laid off in 2003 after a 16-year run with a company I loved, doing things I love doing. And so had to learn how to do it myself. And over that time period, Kristen, the best way to learn something is to teach it. So for about 15 years, that's what I did. Volunteered with a couple of organizations. And then 6 years ago, oh, sorry, gosh, 8 years ago now, when I semi-retired, my wife said, "You ain't sitting on the couch watching Netflix reruns, buddy. Get out there and start something." So we launched the company. And here we are.
Nice.
So, director level and above, 45 years old and older. I have a proprietary system with about 20-ish things you got to do in three major categories to get ready for a successful run back at corporate. And then Darren and I were talking about that, and he's got some ideas on how to help people either get, buy a franchise, start a company, expand a company you've already got. And I kind of figured that out early in my engagements is what do you want to do next? Do you want to go back to corporate? If you do, great. I'm here to help. If you don't, I've got friends that can help you buy a franchise. I've got friends that can help you fund a company.
Well, I'll
Darren's
help you
my
guys by letting you know I have already purchased a franchise and started my own company. So,
awesome. Awesome. We're
so it
here
seems
for
like
you.
I found the right place.
We're here
And
for
I
you.
do not want to go back to corporate. Very much do not want to go back to corporate.
I'd rather live in a refrigerator box under a bridge over the Eisenhower Expressway here in Chicago than go back to corporate myself. Right there with you.
And
Agreed.
now that I've learned that things that can be done, now I was in corporate for 25 years, legal and compliance. And since losing my job at the end of February, um, I just did some soul searching and started learning about all the great things people like you two are doing out there. And, I also know what my worth is. And that job isn't showing up on LinkedIn jobs page, you know? So I did some networking and I bought the franchise. And then someone was like, why aren't you using 25 years of legal and financial experience in compliance? Get out there, form your LLC and let's go. Like, let's get you a fractional gig going. So that gives you a little bit of perspective on where I'm at.
Well, good for you for
So I'm
taking the
excited to
leap.
hear what you guys offer because I definitely could use help in both businesses.
Well, kudos for you for taking the leap. I think I tell folks I've got one of my best friends has been talking about taking the leap for going on 4 years. Um, Created a great platform. 100% believe that his company will be successful, but he's afraid to launch it for whatever reason, and I can't get it out of him. And
Boy, I wish I would have
but
thought about it before I did
uh,
lose my position.
but
At spending
it
12 years at JP Morgan. It's like I wish I would have used those years wisely to start researching all this stuff because I've taken a crash course in a lot of stuff this summer.
but I tell people that have made the leap, I'm like, once you walk out that door, the thought of going back through the threshold into the corporate world, you'd rather chew on the wrong end of a shotgun.
And
And
shop at Walmart.
and I tell folks if I went back into the corporate world, I'd probably get fired the first day because I'd tell them, oh, this is stupid. Why are we doing it like this?
Yeah, and it was just such a like it solves so many, it makes for one really bad year, I think, where you got to figure stuff out and get clients and all that. But it also solved a lot of like estate planning things I wanted to do that I wasn't able to do, or like saving, like I'm going to suffer now to save more later, hopefully, and have better tax vehicles, stop paying six figures to the federal government, all those things. So
That's,
anyway, so I'm very optimistic.
well, we're optimistic for you.
Okay, that's what I like to hear.
So, Don, when you're talking with a client, and you mentioned you have kind of the 20 questions or idea points, whatnot. What how is it like a discovery on their own that, hey, yes, I do want to go back to corporate, or I want to go start my own business, I want to buy a franchise, or based on their responses, do you then come in and make a recommendation?
Yeah, it's hmm, the best coaches really ask questions to where the answers come up in the mind of the person that you're speaking with.
And I will
Very,
tell you, my journey was just like that. I
yeah.
had a gentleman coach that took me through, I did my discs again, but he really showed very little. He just was there to listen and kind of lead.
Mhm.
So I'm glad that you said that, Don, because I felt that was one of the most valuable things. And we actually became great friends through the process, and have kept in touch, and I've sent other people to him. So thumbs up on your approach.
Yeah, it's really it's sort of like sales. Nobody likes to be push sold,
Yeah,
but the other side of the coin is everybody likes to buy. And so if one can get on the agenda of the person you're speaking to, then the questions you ask kind of get you to buy something rather than push sell you on something.
Yep.
Uh, but that leads me to the question to you too, Darren. What is corporate credit? And so something like someone like Kristen, who's already purchased a franchise, and probably I'm assuming Kristen, you already have your financing lined up.
I rolled over, I did Rob's financing, rolled over the Roth portion of my 401k um to hopefully get it tax free, hopefully make it worth something and make it tax free on the back end. Um I know most people aren't. Luckily I was in a good financial situation, so I was able to do that. But that's how I financed the purchase of the franchise. I'm sure you want to know which franchises it is too, because if you work with
yes,
people on this, I'm sure you work with the franchises. It's and I'm sure you'll be familiar with it, Don. It's Schoolie Mitchell cost
Mhm.
reduction
okay.
services.
Absolutely, absolutely. I am familiar with that. Darren, what would be some of your approaches for someone like Kristen to if she didn't have that
Yeah.
background there?
So corporate credit, I talk to a lot of people that say, oh, well, I've got business credit. I've got a Chase Ink for business, or I've got a Platinum Amex for business. Um, but if their name is on there, they're still personally guaranteeing it, and that's being reported to the business credit bureaus. And so they pierce the corporate veil. And because I'll talk to people, they say, oh, I've got an LLC, I'm protected. I'm like, well, you told me you have $100,000 line of credit with Wells Fargo. Is that showing up on your Experian report? They're like, yes. Well, all it takes is two financial institutions that are your business credit to be reporting to the personal bureaus to pierce the corporate veil, and then your personal assets are exposed. And there's only about 5% of the financial institutions in America that intentionally report a positive payment history to the business credit bureaus. If you miss a payment, they'll gladly report the negative. But so building the corporate credit, it's a process. It takes anywhere from 9 to 12 months, but you're going up the rungs of the ladder. You're getting a credit card, you're getting a line of credit, whatever the case may be, using it, paying it responsibly. And eventually you get to the point where you no longer have to personally guarantee anything for your business. Cars, equipment, credit cards, working capital lines of credit, you name it. And, for me personally, it resonates with me. The last business I had was a golf cart business, and things were going great. I bought it in 2013 as an existing business, doing about $900,000 a year in revenue, grew it up to just shy of 2.5 million at the close of 2019. Had a great business model, but apparently I didn't have the foresight to see COVID was coming, and my business model was not a COVID friendly business model because I had the largest rental fleet of golf carts in Atlanta, and 90% of my revenue was up to all the festivals and events.
Oh boy.
Fun fact,
Unfortunately, had
I
to,
got COVID. I got COVID in a golf cart on the golf course in 2022.
Oh boy.
but so unfortunately, I had to shut down the business and bankrupt it and file personal bankruptcy because I was personal guarantee on an owner finance note and a line of credit that was roughly $250,000 I used to buy the golf carts.
Hmm.
If I'd known about corporate credit, my golf cart company would still be in existence. And what's unique about it is it has nothing to do with tax returns, P&Ls, balance sheets. It's all based off of a multiple of the monthly spend of the company between operating expenses and payroll. And they ultimately get access to roughly 10x. Perfect example. I've got a client right now, custom home builder in Boulder, Colorado, and he spends between $375,000 $400,000 a month running his business. Well, he got access to a $4 million line of credit, and so we get people that either they start the process knowing they want to buy a business, or they already have the business. Like I've got a client right now, he's got an SBA loan on the building that his business is in. And SBA sinks their teeth into everything. And he's got a lien on his house as collateral. And he's planning on refinancing that out into just a regular real estate term loan. And so in talking about, what Don does, if Kristen comes to him and is like, hey, Don, what do I do next? And come to the conclusion that, hey, I want to buy a business. You can use the corporate credit and our funding platforms to help purchase the business or purchase the franchise. Um, you know, so it really, and each case is completely unique. No two are the exact same. So, well, Don, what do you see? Like, obviously, you're dealing with a lot of different personalities of your clients. Are there certain traits that you see where you're like, hey, you need to go back into the corporate world? Or I don't think you ever should have been in the corporate world. You probably should have been owning your own business all along.
Yes. Yeah, and Kristen pointed it out that she took her DISC profile assessments again, which is very telling. A lot of folks in corporate view assessment tools or psychometric assessment tools as soft serve woo-woo crap, if I may be so bold. And unfortunately, it's not. But usually it's the people in the D category, and you know what I'm talking about, Kristen, when I say that, or the C category of the DISC personality types. If you're not familiar with them, Darren, there are four major personality types in humans, major personality types. And then there are subcategories, hundreds of them. It's all from 0 to 100 in any of those types, personality types in a pie, right? And it's broken down into four major categories and then several, again, subcategories. We all have pieces of all four major types in us, but there is one overriding trait that we revert to under stress. And so if you are a personality type, like a D, for instance, like Alec Baldwin, for instance, is a D. Direct is what D stands for. He's very direct. He's very thick-skinned. He will tell you something, but his feelings don't get hurt. So he expects your feelings won't get hurt. I am an I, so like a Robin Williams type person, outgoing. You see I use my hands when I speak a lot. I'm very excitable. I'm going to bet you're probably in the I category somewhere, Kristen. IS, IC, IS.
I'm actually pulling it up right now. I'm trying to find it.
Okay. Because you're
I'm gonna
very,
answer now that you'll both be curious, so I gotta
I
find it
am,
to answer
I am
you.
curious. Yes.
It's
Um,
it's been forever since I did one, but I was both high D and high I.
yeah, I'm not the least bit surprised that you got a fair bit of D in you, Darren,
Yeah.
at all. Then there is the S, which is a Mother Teresa type, who is very sensitive, always interested in helping. A nurse would fall into that category, someone who's concerned for others more than themselves, for instance. And then there's the C, the Mr. Spock of the world. So, where do those personalities best find employment, if you will? As a rule, Ds will run companies simply because people believe someone who speaks with that much passion must know what they're doing. And people have a tendency to follow people with that much confidence. Sometimes that confidence can fall into the arrogance camp, and that's where we run into troubles. C's and S's are a little bit more laid back, introverted. And when D's talk to S's, they can sometimes, like I said, hurt their feelings, and sometimes they will withdraw. S's and C's will withdraw from them. But if you know how to work, and a D knows how to work with an S, my God, what a powerful team. These are the S's are the detail folks. The D's are the big picture folks. So we're going to New York. S's want to know, how are we going to get there? Are we going to fly? Are we going to drive? We're going to take a hitchhike? We're going to take the train? We're going to take a bus? We're going to Uber? We're going to, what are we going to do? Where are we going to stay? How long are we going to, where are we going to eat? What are we going to do when we get there? All of those details. And if you
So
can
I've got
get
it
into,
up. You want to
yes,
know?
share, please.
I'm definitely
All
not an
right.
S.
So I have an adapted style and a natural style, which
Mm-hmm.
makes more sense to you than me.
Yep.
The on the adapted, I'm at a 92 on the I.
Okay.
So that's my highest. My second highest is S at 58.
Yep.
Third is C at
Yep.
35, and the
Mm-hmm.
lowest is D at 18.
Okay.
And
But
the natural style follows pretty much that same curve. The D is a little higher, the C is a little higher in that one, and then the I and the S come down a little bit on the natural style.
okay.
So whatever
Yeah.
that means, you can tell me.
Yeah. Natural style is what you're born. I'm an IS natural, and then I'm an SI, believe it or not, work face or adapted face.
Oh, well, I always tell everybody I only have one personality, so that's probably why it didn't change very
Right.
much.
Not a lot. Yeah. It's
Because
it's common.
but because adaptive is because the disc profile I took when I was 30 years old is probably dramatically different than one that I would take right now, right?
Absolutely. It's a snapshot in time.
Yeah.
It's a snapshot in time. I had one client that 15 years ago, when she was an individual contributor, she was one thing. But then she worked with me 2 years ago, and she was a partner in a consulting firm. Totally opposite sides of the spectrum. Because she grew, in the way she reacted to leadership versus individual contribution, fundamental change in life. But it was an intentional growing process on her part to grow into that type of a role. So yes, you can change your personality intentionally through work.
Yeah.
It's like it's education, right? Training is an event, education is a process.
Right.
And she intentionally wanted to become a leader so she could do that and evolve. So her adapted face became her natural face, but it took effort. So it's not just soft serve Google.
Yeah.
It actually means, because communication styles are really where the greatest impact is realized, and the way
And I think
leaders
too, like
lead.
even environments that you're in, like I know I took a personality test at one point. I forget what it was called, but basically it rated you on like 29 traits as a leader.
Mhm.
And my bottom one was empathy. But I do think I'm actually a very empathetic person. But at the time, I'd inherited a team. Sorry, there's a plane flying over and I'm sitting on my patio. I inherited a team that was whiny, felt like they deserved all these, they were being worked too hard. They just were bad. It was like right after the crisis in 2000. It was in mortgage. It was right after the crisis in 2009. And like they were just hiring warm bodies, right? They didn't have the skills. They didn't have this. And I took that test when I was in that role. And I think I said I didn't have empathy because I was so tired of hearing their damn excuses at work. Then later I took another test and I feel, like in our employee evaluation surveys, like with my next team that I built myself, like I was getting rave reviews on empathy and being so supportive and all this stuff. So I think your situation can change it up a little bit too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. That's of course. I mean, when if you're married, and I don't know, and I'm not asking, I'm just saying, if you are, and you have a supportive partner, you're going to be a happier person. But if you're
Right.
married to John Wayne
Your
Gacy,
environment, right. Your environment changes you. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. So, but it's important to know who you are, because
Yeah.
when you know who you are, and if you're around a bunch of people who also understand DISC, you have a common language so you can discuss what it means to be a D, I, an S, or
And
a
that's what's
C.
nice when like someone comes in as a leader and like when you I do like these assessments. I've taken my first job in corporate, we had to do the predictive indicator, I think it was called, the
Yeah,
PI test.
predictive.
Every employee took it when they came in.
Yep.
And I have to say they're pretty accurate, when they
Yes.
describe you and stuff. On that same test where it said I lacked empathy, the whole leadership team took it. So there are like 20 of us or whatever. And then someone comes in and explains the results and the highlights and what they found. I was their compliance partner on the leadership team. And I was the only one that one of my top 5 traits was woo. And they were like, and everybody looked at me like, our compliance person is the only one with woo in the top. So that was kind of one of the funny things I've seen from these predictive tests too.
Yes. Yes.
So do I have to run back to corporate, Don, or do you think I'm going to be okay?
If you're happy, I'm happy, Kristen.
Okay.
Don,
That was a
how
great
many
question though, Darren. Like if you get on
Yeah.
a call with someone, Don, and you're like talking to them and they say, you're getting a read of them and you're like, oh my gosh, this person is so quiet. They're so timid. They're going out on their own just probably isn't a great idea. Like, or
Hmm.
you match them with a certain type of franchise opportunity. Obviously, it wouldn't be Schoolie Mitchell because that's like a beat the pavement job. But I was amazed at how many different types of franchises are out there. I mean,
Mhm.
there's an abundance of them
Yes.
doing all kinds of things. So it's very
Yes.
interesting. You might
Yeah.
introduce
Yeah,
them to like, Mathnasium or something where they want to work quietly with children.
Sure.
I don't even know if
Sure.
Mathnasium is a franchise. It just came to mind.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine that he was in the tech space for 25 years and got out of it about 4 or 5 years ago. And a super nice guy. He's not overly engaging or anything like that, but he bought a mobile pet grooming franchise. And so all he deals with every day is dogs
Dogs.
and
Yeah.
cats.
Yep.
That sounds like a happy life right there.
Yep.
And
Yep.
he's doing great with it.
Yep. Yep.
And
Therapy animals. Yep.
but but his only interface with his clients, the pet owners, 9 times out of 10 is through his website
Yeah.
where
Making
they
the appointment and
inquire
collecting the
about
money.
booking a service
Yeah.
and say, oh, I need the whole kit and caboodle, or I just need a wash and a blow. And
Yeah.
he says, okay, well, if you need the whole kit and caboodle, it's going to be $129.
Mhm.
If all you need is a wash and a blow dry, that's $52.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
Yeah.
then he greets them at the front door to get their pet, takes them into his van, and he does a great job. He did my dog last Friday.
Ah,
So
Well, if he
now,
that's
charged me
awesome.
$52, I'd be offended. I'm telling you.
Right. Right.
so Don, do you see more people opting to go back into corporate or going
Hmm.
out on their own, be it purchasing an existing business or doing a franchise like Kristen did?
That's a darn good question. Hmm.
It probably
So far,
varies on age too, because I
it
think
does.
when you're young, you think you do what your parents taught you, right? Our parents were baby boomers, I'm assuming, and they taught us to go get a job and work hard. I haven't even told my parents yet I'm no longer with JP Morgan Chase because I'm so afraid of that baby boomer reaction. So I just want to get both businesses up and going before I break the news to them that I've decided not to return to corporate. But I think for like the Gen X population, it's just really hard out there to re-enter corporate. Like my thing was just like, not
It
only do I
is.
not want to go, But like I gave it about a month and like I was getting interviews, but like I was interviewing with people that had less experience than I did,
Mhm.
for a role that didn't pay me as much.
Mhm.
And I didn't want to go. I actually sat in an interview with Charles Schwab like in March and I was like, oh God, I don't. And Schwab is literally the headquarters is literally like 2 miles from my house. So great situation, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh God, if I have to be back in the office 5 days a week, I think I'm just gonna die. And then the commute, like Dallas, the commute's terrible everywhere now, all day, every day. Like I feel like since COVID. So I don't know. We'll see if I can get the fractional thing going. And I have some family members that are also working on this Schoolie Mitchell stuff. So, but right now I've really just been networking and getting out there and meeting people like you guys and seeing where it's been a very fruitful few months, I would say, of just learning about what people do, learning what their businesses are. I've realized that I'm like a great connector. Like, if somebody's like, I'm looking for this, I'm like, oh, I happen to have met someone who might be interesting to you. So I really enjoy that part of
Mhm.
it. Um, and find it every week. At Friday, especially now it's summer, I get in my pool and I tell my significant other, I'm like, this was a good week. Like, here's what we accomplished this week. We didn't maybe make any money, but these things are progress, right? Like we're
Yeah.
still making
Yep.
progress. So I'm super excited about it. And I've had some good fortune. I got a first client in both businesses the same week,
That's
which was
awesome.
really nice. And just through LinkedIn outreach, just kind of saying, hey, would like to have a conversation with you, hear more about some of the struggles or needs that you might have at your organization. So that was great. I just need to get some more of them
That's the
and
secret that
apparently
all of us
figure out how
struggle
to
with.
earn some corporate credit.
There you go. There you go. Well, I could help you.
I was just going to say, I know a guy.
No, but it's interesting talking about personalities. I have a very good friend of mine who is uber smart. He's an actuary, and actuaries, I think they have to pass like either 7 or 8 tests before they're truly an actuary. And but he's an exception to the actuarial world where he's actually an actuary that has personality, and you're not talking to a lamppost. But he worked
He's
for
just
a
a math guy
large,
that has a good personality. That just happened to be his passion.
and he worked for a large company for a long time, and was an executive with them, and got let go a couple of years back. And before he got let go, he was thinking about venturing out on his own, because he had an opportunity with another friend for this business idea. And so he asked me, he's like, hey, you mind meeting me for a drink? I want to pick your brain a little bit. And I told him, I was like, well, but I think it's great. I said, but two, probably most importantly, I know you're a cheap son of a bitch, so you have 95 cents for every dollar you've made in the bank. And I know you don't want to touch that bank account or that retirement account or investment account. And I said, so first, how long can you stomach without having an income?
Yep, that's kind of where I was at too,
And
or I am at. I still have my deadline in front of me at least because I haven't had to
yeah.
borrow anything.
And so he was still employed at this point, and he got downsized, and so it kind of forced him into doing his own thing. And like I said, super smart, great personality. He was more on the sales side of things for the company he worked for. And so he's like, well, I'm just going to start my own consulting business. He ran with that for about 2.5, 3 years. And then finally was like, I need to go back to corporate. This isn't for me. And he started a new corporate job just this past Monday,
Hmm.
because he's like, I'm not
Huh.
cut out for this. He would
Yeah.
land a couple of clients, and his clients, with what he was doing, it was fairly high ticket. But for him, with the income that he was used to,
Mhm.
and even though he would have 2 or 3 high ticket clients a year, he's like, well, making 150 grand's nice, but I used to make seven figures.
Hmm. Yeah.
And, so he finally was like, this self-employed stuff isn't for me.
Well,
And
and the worst part
it's a
too,
journey,
it is a journey. And a lot of people don't realize that when I worked in corporate, I did this. And there are people over here that did things and people over here that did things here, 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 here. And now I got to do all of that.
Yeah.
And I'm not good at all of that. I'm good at this. And so figuring out accounting and sales and marketing and IT and cybersecurity and operations and delivery and customer service, blah, 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 that's a lot for a lot of
Yeah.
people. And they don't realize that because they're good consultants
Yeah.
or they're good career coaches or they're good, financing guys or good Scully Mitchell folks. And some of that stuff is overwhelming and it's never ending and it's becomes scary.
Yeah.
So then folks want to run for the hills and get back to corporate. So it is something that we do talk about at beginning of engagements as to whether or not you're cut out to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not everybody is.
Not everybody is. If you are, it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
You love it. You love it. Not everybody does
So far.
so far. Yeah. And if you
But I
don't,
figure I
Kristen,
gave
you know
myself
a
to the
guy.
end of the year. I was like,
Mhm.
if you can get something going by the end of the year, that's my timeline. And then
Yeah.
I'll have to reevaluate.
Yeah. Yep. And that's good too to have a deadline, not a deadline necessarily, but a goal.
Yeah.
Um, but I guess it is a deadline after a fashion that
It
if
is,
it's,
or just,
yeah,
or to reevaluate options, right? Like
right,
that's,
right.
I don't want to dip into my retirement. I mean, I realize I took a small portion of it to buy the franchise, but
Yeah.
that was in lieu of liquidating investments, right? Like I don't want to start dipping into that pile there. So that's kind of my timeline where I'm going to have to decide if I'm going to dip and keep going or what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
My only advice to you on that would be, you know, whatever the goal is, where you want your business to be by year end, whether that's a financial number or number of clients, whatever the case may be, don't necessarily make that a hard line in the sand. Like if you fall
Right.
just
I agree.
short, if you fall
And
just short, I would say don't throw in the towel just
just
yet.
keep going. And I think that's right. I think my model for Schoolie Mitchell aside, Schoolie Mitchell is what I network generally for out in the public because it's just a service that can really be used for anyone, right? For my fractional compliance services, that's obviously going to be where the big money is to start, right? Because I can earn it quickly. Um, like the client that I got last week, he was like, yeah, I could probably use you for, I needed to do some very basic things that were pretty easy for him. I'm more serving rather than a fractional as kind of like a part-time worker for like a general counsel or a CCO, chief compliance officer, where they need some strategic leadership, but they don't have time to get it all done. That's kind of the roles that I've been talking to people about right now that they've had a need. And then they're like mid-sized companies. If I was going full fractional, it would obviously be smaller companies than 1,500 employees, right? So, but this is kind of a nice gig for me to go in. And I just was like, he was like, yeah, so probably, I don't know, 8 hours a week. What would you charge a month for that? And I was like, 10 grand. And he was like, didn't even blink. So, if I can get two 10 grand clients a month,
Hmm.
like working 8 hours a week each, like that's obviously a very sustainable model.
Yep.
Um, Now there is the point of your friend where you had to keep getting another client and keep getting another client. But I think the fractional compliance role is kind of a new thing in the fractional space. So I'm hopeful that just because I've gotten two hits off LinkedIn in a month and I've actually had a couple more that were like, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to need you. This is great timing. I got a few of those like, don't need you yet, but I think I do. Let me get back to you, which I need to follow up with them. I suck at following up, which is going to be a real tough thing in this entrepreneurial thing. Um, but anyway, I'm hopeful, but I think the advice is good, Darren. Like if I have three clients would be optimal, right? Now we're making some money. Two clients is survivable for sure. So if I can get to the end of the year with two clients and I don't have the three that I want, I'm not going to cry. Like as long as I'm paying the bills, I'm not going back.
Yeah.
Like, so, and I think with Schoolie Mitchell, as I add clients, that kind of is kind of a long runway to start up. which I don't really understand. I'm starting my new gimmick today, and I know we're over time, and I want to be respectful of your guys' time. But my new gimmick with Schoolie Mitchell today is we actually do offer a free analysis of your vendors. Like we audit all your vendors to see if we can do better and give you a value report, and you paid nothing at that point. So like it's literally a free service at the start. The
Yeah.
only time you pay is if you decide to make the changes that we recommend or change the contract. So you'd think it'd be easy to sell, right? Like when you just be like, not you guys, but like, if you owned a little business, a storefront or something, when you'd be like, well, yeah, come check out my stuff. No, no one says that. But you know what they will say? They'll be like, oh, you should really talk to her over there. She owns the hotel. And I'm like, well, you didn't ask me to come look at your countertop business. But I do think, and that's why I think the networking and the building trust is so important. And that's why I've really just focused on that and paying it forward. And it's more enjoyable than the sell. So like, and it's easy for me. So, but today I'm going to an event tonight, and they were asking for door prizes. So what I did was I got like a gift set with different types of coffee from around the world, putting it in a bag, and then I printed up on a Schoolie Mitchell note card. Like I put a little slogan or something like, oh, relax with your morning coffee while we take a look at your vendors. And then I put click here to set up an appointment for a free cost reduction analysis. So it's like they're winning something that we give away anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try that approach today. That's my newest marketing attempt.
I think that's great. I think that's great.
Because you always feel like, they give you some, I'm going to say free. They don't really think free. It sounds too gimmicky, right? They think, oh, well, this is going to suck a bunch of my time, or this is going to, they think there's more to it. But I figure if I do it like like they won something, which they did win the coffee, but if they won something in the card, maybe they'd be more apt to like pick up the phone and set up a time to talk to me.
Awesome. Well, this was good. Don, any parting thoughts?
No, I enjoyed it. Thank you for, like I said, thanks for having me on your show here, and
Absolutely.
appreciate you joining, Kristen.
Yes, I will definitely
Any
connect with
parting
you
thoughts
both.
from you, Kristen?
No, this is super helpful, and it was great to meet you both. And I'll definitely connect with you on LinkedIn, and
Please do. Please do.
let's go.
Awesome. Well, good luck with the Schoolie Mitchell and the fractional stuff.
Yep.
Don and I believe in you.
All right. Sounds good. I like the encouragement. I liked the disc analysis.
You guys have a great day.
All right. Bye, guys.
See y'all.
See ya.